We are here with Ray Fawkes, the creator of Possessions and the upcoming One Soul. Thanks a lot for sitting down with us.
You're very welcome.
So, why don't we go ahead and talk about Possessions? You've got book 1 out right now, and book 2 is coming out in what, a week or two?
2 weeks. It's going to be out in the middle of March.
So, just a quick capsule overview. What is Possessions about?
Sure. Possessions is a comedy, sort of a slapstick-style book about ghosts, a small group of ghosts who are held captive in an eccentric old lady's house and forced to haunt her for her entertainment. It's kind of like a jailbreak story, but it's an all-ages thing, and it has a very Looney Tunes feel to it, and it's a little bit macabre. It's sort of, where I go when I'm trying to relax from being serious. Everything goes into that book, and there's almost a gag on every page. It's that style of thing,
And that's kind of what you're known for, that sort of younger audience type book. You've got this, the Apocalyptics.
Yeah, that's true. That's the majority of my work out there right now, but it's not everything I do.
Yeah, the piece that's coming up, it's going to be released later this year, I believe, and that is One Soul. Go ahead and give us sort of an overview of One Soul, because it's very different than Possessions.
Yes, One Soul is kind of the other side of the work I do. It's this very kind of philosophical work, and it's a sort of a formalist work too. It's the basic synopsis is that it's 18 people's lives from birth till death throughout human history and around the world, told simultaneously. And when you put them all together, they tell a single story. There's a single narrative that goes through all of their lives. And the book is about war and faith and love and what it is to live a human life. So yes, very different from the kid stuff that I do.
So now we have the book here in front of us. You can see, it has basically each page is a double page spread. There's 9 panels per page. Each panel tells one person's story. So let's say panel number 1 always is going to be that person's story.
Yes, that's correct. So like panel number 1 is this prehistoric hunter, whereas let's say, panel number 18 is a girl in modern Britain, right? And as you flip through the book, that same position is always an instance in that character's life. So if you really want to, you could actually read it through all one person's life and then go back to the start and read another one's. Or you could read all of them together.
So that's 19 different ways to read this book?
Yeah, there are 19 ways to read the book.
So I've got to ask, where did you come up with this idea of I want to tell 19 different stories with 18 different people across 18 different timelines?
The genesis of the story was that I love comics as a medium on their own. I think they have a number of strengths that no other medium has, and one of the greatest strengths of comics is the fact that you can manipulate time and space by placing things differently on a page. And comics allow you to scan backwards and forwards through time in a way that is not very comfortable in prose or in film, whatever. And then there's the juxtaposition of the words and pictures where you move them in relation to each other can create parallels and patterns. And so I just became fascinated with this idea of creating a book that's all about patterns and parallels and this movement through time. And 9-panel grid is a comfortable split for a page. It's just it's almost a traditional comic book split. So I thought of the idea of doing a double page spread, 9 panels each page, every page. And I wanted to draw the parallels between different characters' lives. So it just all kind of came together and how can I make a book that can only be a comic book? But as a comic book, it's much stronger than as if the same story were told any other way. And that's where this came from.
So when you were creating it, did you lay it out, did you start with the prehistoric person and write his story all the way through and then do the next one and then do the next one? Or were you creating this sort of page at a time? How are you creating it?
It was created, I was writing all of the lives simultaneously. I started them all together and I wrote them all together because of that single thread that moves through all their lives. I wanted to have a sort of a pattern to their lives. And the pattern emerges when you read them all together. So I wrote them all together, which was a little bit difficult compared to how I normally write a script. But then after it was all written together, that was when I went back and sort of deepened each life on its own. So it was sort of a two-tier script that, yeah, I mean, you can read it 19 ways. I kind of had to write it 19 times.
Yeah. I can imagine. So what kind of challenges, I mean, other than just the logistics of this, did you face when you were doing this?
The biggest challenge that I faced doing it actually is that the story addresses questions that are so personal to me that it was at times difficult to write. I mean, the book is about life and a search for meaning and legitimacy of faith or the illegitimacy of faith, you know, and it's difficult, man, to sit down and ask yourself what you really think about these questions and then try and address them in a way that you don't think, you know, to show different perspectives of it. It was hard.
And so, I mean, how did you pitch this to Oni? I mean, I've got this. I mean, in my head, I see you sitting down for coffee and just going, I have this idea, and it's this book, and you can read it all these different ways, and it's all these different characters, but it's non-linear for across the yeah.
It was an unpitchable book. I was convinced that the book could not be pitched. So what I did was I went and I wrote it completely, and drew and lettered the first 50 pages.
Oh, wow.
And I handed it over to the guys at Oni, and I said, listen, if this is too out there for you, then don't worry about it. I understand. I'm probably going to self-publish it, right? And they read it, and they loved it. And they said, would you like to do the rest? And I'm like, of course I would, And we were off to the races. But no, yeah, as a concept, the book was unpitchable because I would describe it to somebody, and they would say, I don't know if you can make that work. Right. And my only answer to that is, trust me, I can. But no, a writer can't say, trust me, the book will work. You have to show them that it works.
Well, and like you said, I mean, this is something that just hasn't been tackled before.
Yeah, no, I've never seen this. I've never seen this done before.
So you said you wrote, drew, lettered all the first 50 pages, and then they said, would you like to do the rest? How long is this book?
Oh, the book is about 170 pages, give or take a couple. I mean, I think it's 174 pages as done, but there may be one or two extra pages added on to the end.
Gotcha. And then one of the interesting things I noticed as we're going along is that some of these panels actually black out.
Yes. Since they are the characters' lives told simultaneously, not everybody lives the same amount of time. So when one of the characters dies, their panel goes black for the remainder of the book. And in fact, there is, one of the characters ends up living longer than everyone else. That particular character is left alone in a field of black by the end of the book.
Wow. Much like you're questioning the meaning of existence and faith and all, and here you are alone at the end too.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I can't wait to see it. And when does it come out?
It will be debuting at the end of July of this year.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with us, and we can't wait to see it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.